I want you to imagine a moment, the very last moments of a man who changed the world. Steve Jobs, a visionary, a pioneer, a man who held the future in his hands. And in those fragile, fleeting moments, what did he see? What did he say? What was on his mind as the world held its breath? Oh, wow, oh, wow, oh, wow. Those were his final words, whispered quietly. 3 simple words repeated like a mantra, but they've haunted millions since. Were they just echoes of fading consciousness? Or something deeper, a glimpse beyond the veil, a hint at what lies on the other side? This question has fascinated humanity for millennia. What happens after we die? Does the story just end, or is it only the beginning of something else, something greater, unknown, mysterious? Let's journey through the many roads that humanity has traveled to answer this question. Not with cold facts or clinical studies alone, but with the heartbeats of faith, philosophy, science, and those who claim to have touched the beyond. Across cultures and centuries, the idea of life after death has been both a comfort and a mystery. The ancient Egyptians believed death was a passage, a journey into an afterlife filled with judgment and rewards, a place called the Field of Reeds, a paradise for the righteous. Their tombs and pyramids weren't just grand monuments, they were doorways, stairways to that other realm. In Christianity, the promise is clear: eternal life, the soul's reunion with God in heaven, where pain, sorrow, and death itself are swallowed up forever. For believers, death is not the end, but a transition to a divine homecoming. But what about other traditions? In Hinduism and Buddhism, life is a wheel, the cycle of birth, death, and rebirth, known as samsara. The soul, or Atman, moves through countless lives shaped by karma, until it finally breaks free to merge with the ultimate reality, nirvana, or moksha, a state beyond suffering, beyond self. Philosophers have wrestled with this enigma as well. Plato, in his dialogues, imagined the soul as immortal, trapped in the body, like a prisoner eager to return to a realm of pure forms and truths. Meanwhile, existentialists ask a different question. What if death is final? What meaning can we find in the face of absolute nothingness? Science, long skeptical, has started to explore these boundaries too. Near-death experiences, or NDEs, are accounts from people who have temporarily crossed into that strange twilight, seeing tunnels of light, meeting beings of love, sensing an overwhelming peace. Raymond Moody's seminal work in the 1970s brought these stories to light, revealing startling similarities across cultures and ages. Could these be glimpses of an afterlife, or merely brain chemistry at work? One story stands out: the case of Anita Moorjani, who fell into a coma from cancer, and in that near-death state experienced a profound clarity and unconditional love so powerful it transformed her life and her disease. Her testimony speaks to something beyond physical existence, something profoundly hopeful. And what about modern physics? Some theories propose that consciousness might not be entirely confined to the brain. Quantum mechanics hints at realities stranger than fiction, parallel universes, entanglement beyond space and time. Could consciousness itself be a form of energy that transcends death? Even atheists and agnostics grapple with the mystery. Neuroscientist Dr. Sam Parnia has explored the boundary between life and death with his cardiac arrest studies. Some patients report awareness after the heart stops, challenging the very definition of death. What does it mean if consciousness lingers? Yet there are skeptics who caution us. The yearning for life after death may be a psychological refuge, a story humanity tells itself to soften the blow of finality. But even if the afterlife is a construct, the powerful effect it has on our lives and choices is undeniable. The hope, the fear, the mystery shape who we are. Back to Steve Jobs. His "oh wow." What might he have been seeing? Was it a flash of light, a reunion, a cosmic understanding, or simply the mind's last attempt to grasp what it cannot fully comprehend? Whatever the truth, that moment reminds us how close life and death are, how fragile the boundary, how much remains unknown. And maybe that's the point. Maybe life after death is less about a destination and more about a question, one we carry with us in every heartbeat, every breath. It invites us to live fully, love deeply, and embrace the mystery with open hearts. So what do you believe lies beyond? Is death the end or the threshold of something unimaginable? Could those final words of Steve Jobs be an invitation, a call to wonder, to hope, to explore what waits in the great beyond? In the end, perhaps the greatest gift is not the certainty of what comes next, but the courage to face it with awe. Imagine the moment when life slips away from the body, that fragile point where consciousness and matter seem to part ways. For thousands of people, that moment isn't just darkness. It's a vivid, often transformative experience. Take the story of Dr. Eben Alexander, a respected neurosurgeon who spent decades as a firm skeptic. In 2008, he contracted a rare brain infection and fell into a deep coma. During those days, his brain should have been completely offline. Yet Dr. Alexander later recounted traveling through extraordinary realms, landscapes of vibrant color, meeting a radiant being of unconditional love, feeling a profound sense of peace. What changed him wasn't just the experience itself, but the undeniable reality that consciousness continued even when science said it shouldn't. His words, "I had entered a different dimension, a place that was unmistakably real, more real than the everyday world." And then there's the ancient wisdom from Tibetan Buddhism, the Bardo Thodol, or the Tibetan Book of the Dead. It teaches that after death, consciousness moves through a series of transitional states, the bardos before rebirth. In this time, the soul encounters visions of light deities and its own mind's projections. How one navigates this liminal space shapes the next life or the liberation beyond it. Such ideas aren't just exotic lore. They've inspired meditation, compassion, and courage in countless people facing death, inviting them to see it as a journey rather than an end. Yet even outside of religious frameworks, many have reported encounters with departed loved ones. These visitations, whether in dreams, waking moments, or near-death states, suggest a continuing connection beyond physical death. Scientists have documented thousands of such accounts, often dismissed, but persistently present. Take the research of Dr. Raymond Moody, who coined the term near-death experience. He collected thousands of reports, people describing moving through a tunnel toward a brilliant light, feelings of overwhelming love, a life review in an instant. Remarkably, these experiences often lead to a lasting shift in values, less fear of death, greater compassion. Skeptics say it's just brain chemistry, the brain flooding with endorphins, oxygen deprivation creating hallucinations. But how do we explain the consistency across cultures, ages, and even those born blind who see light? On the flip side, science today probes the frontiers of consciousness itself. Quantum physics, strange as it sounds, hints at a universe where observer and observed are entwined. Some theories speculate that consciousness could be a fundamental property of the cosmos, not just an emergent byproduct of neurons firing. Could it be that consciousness survives bodily death because it is not strictly tied to the brain? This is where science meets mystery. Then there is the philosophical puzzle. What does it mean for self to continue? Is it the same person who wakes up in a different body, or a spiritual realm, or just a pattern, a memory, a flicker of awareness? Think of the ship of Theseus paradox. If every part of the ship is replaced over time, is it still the same ship? Similarly, if consciousness is a collection of memories and thoughts, what carries on after death? Eastern philosophies suggest that the self is an illusion, a temporary formation in a greater flow of universal consciousness. Death, then, is a return to the whole, not a loss. Returning to Steve Jobs' final words, "Oh wow," Some interpret them as astonishment at a vision of ultimate truth. Jobs was known to be fascinated by spirituality, Zen Buddhism, and the idea that life is more than just the physical world. Could those words be a silent acknowledgement of crossing into a new reality, one beyond our ordinary senses? Or maybe they are simply the human reaction to the greatest unknown we all face, the threshold of death. And that's what makes this question so profound and personal. We can search texts, study science, and listen to stories, but ultimately, the meaning of life after death touches the very core of our being. It challenges us to live fully, to embrace love, and to confront our mortality, not with fear, but with curiosity. What if death isn't the end, but a doorway? What if the mystery itself is a gift, inviting us to explore, to believe, to hope? And so we are left with a question rather than an answer. What do you see when you look beyond life, when you face the unknown? What do you hope awaits beyond the stories of near-death experiences and ancient scriptures? There are countless accounts from ordinary people, stories of encounters that defy explanation and remind us that death might not be the final curtain. Consider the story of Colton Burpo, a young boy who, after a life-threatening surgery, described in vivid detail visiting heaven. His accounts, later captured in the best-selling book Heaven is for Real, included meeting relatives he had never met on Earth, describing scenes and people his family never told him about. To many, Colton's story is a powerful testament to the existence of an afterlife, a reality beyond our mortal senses. But what about the skeptics? Scientists caution us to consider alternative explanations, the brain's powerful imagination confabulations created to make sense of trauma. Still, the sheer volume of such stories across cultures and ages pushes us to wonder. And then there's the philosophy of consciousness itself, a puzzle that keeps unfolding. René Descartes famously said, "I think, therefore I am anchoring existence to thought." But what happens when the body ceases to function? Does the I disappear, or does it transform? Modern philosophers explore concepts like panpsychism, the idea that consciousness is a fundamental feature of the universe, present even at the smallest levels of matter. If consciousness is woven into the fabric of reality, death might not erase it, but change its form like water turning to vapor. Steve Jobs, a man deeply intrigued by these mysteries, once said, "Death is very likely the single best invention of life. It's life's change agent." His words echo a profound truth. The awareness of death shapes how we live, how we love, how we create meaning. Science offers clues too. Studies of consciousness during cardiac arrest have stunned researchers. Dr. Sam Parnia, a critical care physician, found that some patients report awareness and vivid experiences minutes after their heart stopped, a time when brain activity should have ceased. One patient described observing events from above, hearing conversations, and seeing medical procedures details confirmed by doctors. These accounts challenge our understanding of death as a simple, abrupt end. Could these be echoes of an afterlife, or perhaps windows into a hidden layer of consciousness? In the end, no single perspective offers the complete picture. Instead, these diverse views, religious hope, spiritual experiences, philosophical pondering, scientific discovery, invite us into a shared mystery. What if life after death is not a promise or a fear, but an open question, one that teaches us humility and awe? Imagine standing at the edge of a vast ocean, the horizon glowing with the last light of day. You cannot see beyond, but the waters call you forward. The unknown beckons, whispering of worlds unseen. Steve Jobs' last words, "Oh wow," might just be the human heart's recognition of that vast, beautiful unknown. As we close this journey, we are left with more than answers. We have a conversation between science and spirit, between doubt and faith, between life and death. And maybe that's the true gift, to live with wonder, to ask boldly, and to embrace the mystery of what comes next. Because in the end, what if the meaning of life after death is found not beyond the grave, but here in the questions we carry, the love we share, and the courage to face the final frontier together?